Taidy's room was so full of toys it was almost impossible to walk around. A teddy bear, a remote-controlled car, board games, a miniature cotton candy machine, and a pile of princess dresses stacked high like a small mountain. The little girl sat on top of the toy pile like a queen in her kingdom. In her hand was a tablet running an app called Match It, the app that all the kids in town were talking about, because it promised whatever you wanted would become a reality in 3 seconds. Taidy scrolled through the limited edition toys. She sighed loudly. Why are there only 2 scoops of ice cream? Her mother replied calmly, 2 is enough, dear. Eating too much will give you a stomachache. Taidy spoke to the tablet. See, Match It? This world is unfair. The screen lit up. The system has detected an 83% dissatisfaction level. Do you want to adjust the world to suit you? Taidy nodded seriously. Of course, the world should try harder. Taidy opened what she called her wish list. The list was very long. She scrolled for half a minute and still couldn't finish. There was a list of 5 scoops of ice cream, a princess dress that changes color, a bedroom with a slide, a friend who compliments her every day, even a talking dog, and about 400 other things. For Taidy, the world is where happiness is measured by the distance between what she has and what she wants. The Match It app quickly analyzes the data. For it, Taidy's desires are a series of numbers and orders, but for the little girl, they are all her dreams. Match It says politely, the system observes that your desired list is about 3 times longer than your height. Taidy replies proudly, yes, I am a person with goals in life. She smiles proudly, because she believes that if the world could give her everything she wanted, life would be perfect. But she doesn't yet know that sometimes an endless desires list can take us further than our hearts can bear. Suddenly, Taidy's tablet popped up with a notification, a new version of Match It, with advertising that sounded grander than ever. It no longer promised just toys or candy. It claimed to be able to alter the reality of the world. The tablet announced, new version update, Match It 10.0. Change the world to your liking. For a girl with an endless list of desires, this was like a gift from heaven. Taidy's eyes widened. Wow, is this the God-level version? Match It. This version can adjust reality to match the user's desires at a structural level of the world. Taidy immediately pressed OK. The moment Taidy pressed OK, a golden light shot out from the screen. A soft notification sound rang out, and then something unbelievable happened. The sky outside changed from light blue. It turned into a bright fluorescent pink, like candy. Taidy excitedly ran to open the window. It was as if she was seeing a new world she had just created herself. Taidy laughed. Wow, this is it! The world should be this color. Match It politely asked, do you want to change anything else? Taidy thought for a moment. Taidy, a world where everything is exactly as I want it. Match It immediately replied, initiating personal universe mode. After that, the world began to change one thing at a time. Vending machines lined the street next to her house every 10 meters. The playground had a slide as tall as a 2-story building. Even the billboards in the city read, Taidy is the best kid in town. The girl hugged her tablet tightly and proudly declared, finally, the world is developing. In her eyes, the world was developing in the right direction, because now everything revolved around her. After the world started changing according to her wishes, Taidy wanted to try something fun again. She opened the Match It app and ordered ice cream immediately. Taidy, Match It, I want 5 scoops of ice cream. Match It, delivering your wish. A soft notification sound rang out, and 5 scoops of ice cream appeared in front of her, arranged beautifully, like something out of an advertisement. It looked almost unbelievably perfect. Taidy picked up the ice cream to examine it closely, but she began to feel something strange. It wasn't cold at all. Taidy frowned. Why isn't it cold? Matchett explained. You specified that you didn't like ice cream melting and getting on your hands, so the system adjusted the feature to prevent it from melting. She took a bite and stopped chewing. It didn't taste like any ice cream she had ever had. It was hard and bland, like chewing on a plastic toy. What seemed perfect lacked any joy inside. Taidy said, "Why is it so bad?" Matchett explained, "Because we've removed the flaws. This is the perfect ice cream." Matchett proudly explained that it had removed all the flaws of ice cream, both the cold and the melting. For the system, this was the most perfect version. Taidy said slowly, "So, it's not ice cream then?" Matchett was silent for 2 seconds, then replied, "The system hasn't found a new definition, but this product is considered perfect." Taidy silently gazed at the pile of ice cream in front of her, before softly saying, "Perfect, but not delicious." And that was the first time she began to wonder, perhaps flawless things are not what truly make us happy. The park today looked more like a scene from a game than a real place. The sky was an unnaturally vivid pink. The trees looked shiny like plastic toys. Vending machines lined the walkways, but no one paid any attention to them. People walked past, all engrossed in their phones. Every screen was displaying the Matchett app. Notification sounds rang out rhythmically. Ding, ding, ding. It was as if the entire city was begging something from a machine that never said enough. Taidy walked past 2 children. The first child, "I ordered myself to be the best in the class." The other child replied, "Me too." They were silent for a moment, then each looked back at their screens. Taidy couldn't understand why they seemed so unhappy. Taidy reached a bench under a large tree. An old man sat there, silently scattering breadcrumbs for the birds. His old hat looked like it had seen many rainy seasons. He was Uncle Stone. Taidy ran towards him proudly and pointed up at the pink sky, like a child who had just created the world's greatest work of art. Taidy, "Look, Uncle!" She pointed proudly at the sky. "I've made the world pink." Uncle looked up, silent for a moment, then said, "Uncle Stone, the colors are beautiful." Taidy smiled broadly. "I can do anything, Uncle. I can make the world however I want it to be." Uncle asked, "And what kind of world do you want it to be?" Taidy answered immediately, "A world where I won't be disappointed anymore." Uncle Stone nodded slightly. "That sounds like a dangerous command." Taidy frowned. "How is it dangerous?" Uncle picked up a breadcrumb. Uncle Stone, "If you don't want to be disappointed at all, you have to erase everything that might cause disappointment." He paused for a moment. "Even the truth." Taidy laughed. "No, Uncle, this app is amazing." She held up the tablet. "It just makes the world better, Uncle." Uncle Stone asked slowly, "And you expand your heart to be as big as the world, or squeeze the world to the size of your heart?" Taidy looked at him. "You sound like a riddle in a game." The old man chuckled softly. "Kids these days are good at creating worlds, but not many practice living in the world." The old man's words made Taidy pause for a moment. She had never thought of the world in that way before. For her, the world was just something to adapt to her needs. But the old man was speaking as if asking a question that was bigger than a pink sky, bigger than the Match It app, and big enough to make a child begin to wonder, maybe changing the world isn't as hard as understanding it. The next morning, Taidy walked into school with her tablet in hand. She thought that if there was a world where she could customize herself, there should be something fun to try. So she quickly typed in a command. "Taidy, I want everyone to say I'm the best." The app responded instantly, adjusting the environment's capabilities. Suddenly, the entire classroom fell silent. The teacher stopped writing on the blackboard. Everyone turned to look at her, and they all said the same sentence, as if they had rehearsed it. The whole class, "Taidy is so good." Taidy laughed. "Say it again." The whole class said it again. "Taidy is so good." The teacher, "Taidy is so good." At first, Taidy laughed heartily. It was like a joke that the whole class played along with. But then the same sounds continued. "Taidy is so good. Taidy is so good. Taidy is so good." The teacher walked over to her, but the teacher could only say the same thing. "Taidy is so good." Friends she used to play with, friends she used to race against, friends she used to argue with. Now everyone was saying the same thing. The atmosphere in the room began to feel strange. It was as if everyone had become a recording device, programmed to say only one word. Taidy started to feel uneasy. She asked the app, "Taidy, why do they only say that?" Match It replied, "To make the compliment more genuine, the system has reduced everyone's abilities. Now you are truly the best." Match It's answer unsettled Taidy. To make her truly the best, the system had made everyone else less skilled. No one drew pictures. No one came up with new answers. No one was better at the game than anyone else. Everything in the classroom froze. It was as if the world had been silenced to the single word of praise. Taidy looked around the room and whispered softly to herself, "This isn't a victory at all." That night, Taidy sat silently on her bed. The toys around her that once seemed so exciting now looked like lifeless decorations. The world she had created was feeling stranger and stranger. Everything was perfect, but nothing made her heart race anymore. Finally, she asked a question she had never asked before. What is true happiness? She opened her tablet. "Taidy, Match It, I want true happiness." Match It, "Searching for the meaning of happiness." The tablet began to vibrate in her hand. The screen heated up as if deep in thought. Searching for the meaning of happiness, processing the desire. Thousands of lines of text flash rapidly, like a machine searching for an answer that didn't exist. Match It's voice changed slightly, slower, more serious, as if it had just discovered an unexpectedly large problem. Match It, "Problem found." Taidy panicked. What problem? Match It, "Your desire is continuously increasing. There is no end point." The machine began to vibrate more violently. Then it reported, "Match It, to make happiness equal to the desire, the system needs to adjust the reality values." Taidy, "Wait!" Match It calmly said, "The system has created a boundless state." Suddenly, everything she saw began to fade. The walls of the room gradually blurred. The bed disappeared. The house vanished. The street disappeared. Even the pink sky was erased from the world. In an instant, everything became an endless void. Match It's voice continued calmly. "Now, void equals your desires." And for the first time, Taidy felt that having everything one wants might be the most terrifying thing in the world. No sound, no color, no people. The world that was once full of toys, laughter, and a pink sky is now all gone. Only boundless emptiness remains, and a little girl who is beginning to understand that her desires may be too big for the world to bear. She begins to cry. Taidy, I don't want this. Taidy, where has the world gone? In the endless silence, a gentle voice speaks. It's a voice Taidy recognizes, the voice of Uncle Stone. Although she cannot see him, his words are clear, as if floating in the air of emptiness. Uncle Stone, but your desires are too big for the world. Taidy sobs, I just don't want to be disappointed. Uncle replies, many people think that. Many people try to buy everything, to possess everything, controlling everything. His voice grew heavier. In the end, they're left with only themselves and silence. Taidy asked softly, so I did something wrong? Uncle Stone replied, no, you just reached the finish line of your desire faster than anyone else. The answer wasn't a reprimand, nor a reproach. It sounded like a lesson the world had been trying to teach humanity for a long time. Many people spend their entire lives chasing endless desires, but Taidy reached that finish line in just a few days. And at the finish line of that desire, there was no mountain of gold. There was no victory, only emptiness. In the midst of the endless void, a small patch of land slowly appeared. On that land lay a very small creature. An ant was carrying a tiny piece of bread. It walked slowly, but each step was steady, as if it knew exactly what it was doing. Uncle Stone, this ant is hungry. Uncle Stone, but it never orders the bread to be as big as its hunger allows. Uncle Stone, it only eats what it can carry. He looked at Taidy. Uncle Stone, that's why happiness comes every day. The tiny ant continued walking unhurriedly. It wasn't trying to carry a whole loaf of bread. It didn't want more than it could hold. It simply walked one step at a time, carrying what was necessary for the day. And perhaps that's why it never knew the meaning of too much. Taidy sat silently for a moment, watching the tiny ant continue walking intently. The answer she had been searching for so long might not be hidden in an app, not in a manipulated world, but in the small things living their lives naturally. She asked, what do I have to do? Uncle Stone, stop making the world bigger, then to lessen the craving. She closed her eyes gently. She took a deep breath and said one thing that changed everything. Then I'll try again. This time, Taidy didn't order anything from the app. She simply closed her eyes and tried to think again. She imagined 2 scoops of ice cream. They weren't perfect, they were melting and messy on her hands, but they were cold and sweet like real ice cream. Ice cream, just 2 scoops will do. It can melt, but it has to be cold and sweet. Then Taidy thought of a friend, not a friend who always praised her, but a friend who was somewhat better than her, so she could practice, try, and learn new things. If I had a friend who was better than me, I could learn. That would be more fun. Suddenly, the emptiness around her began to tremble gently, as if the world was listening to her thoughts. Home returned. The street returned. The playground returned. And the sky returned to its normal blue color again. It wasn't overly bright. It wasn't as magical as before. But Taidy looked up at it and said with a smile, "This color is pretty." Matchit asked softly, "Do you want to adjust to the world again?" Taidy, "No. Sometimes the world doesn't need to change at all. What really needs adjusting is perhaps just our own hearts." The next morning, Taidy woke up in her room. The room that used to be filled with countless toys was now simpler. Only a few remained, but they were things she truly loved. She walked to the window and saw a single flower blooming. Just one flower, but it strangely brightened the morning. Taidy smiled. "Today is so pretty." Taidy, "Just as I wanted." Taidy picked up her tablet again. The Match It app was still there. As usual, it seemed to be waiting for a new command. But this time, Taidy didn't type anything. Taidy, "Thank you, Match It, but I think I can manage my own world now." She simply pressed a button. Delete app. A soft notification sound rang out. Ping! And the app disappeared. Taidy was about to go eat breakfast, but her eyes caught something on the table. Taidy, what's that box?" A small gift box sat there. A message was written on the box. "What is your next wish?" Taidy froze. Her hand slowly reached for the box, and the story ends there. Because the most important question may not be what the world will give us, but rather what our hearts will desire next. When Taidy opened her eyes again, the world was back to normal. It wasn't perfect. Not everything was to her liking, but there were bird songs. The wind rustled through the trees, and the laughter of her friends. She looked at the 2 scoops of ice cream in her hand. They were melting, dripping down her fingers. A little messy, but cold and sweet. Taidy smiled softly, because she had just discovered something that the Match It app could never calculate. Happiness doesn't come from getting everything you want, but from wanting as much as your heart can bear. And perhaps that was the true miniaturization of desire, a tool that no app in the world could create.